Good morning, Todd. Well, the vote the Senate took overnight is the first step in a series of procedural maneuvers. And of course, the House will have to vote on the package, too. So it will take a few more days before the government reopens. But Sunday's vote was the first clear sign that a bipartisan deal had been reached after a roughly 40-day stalemate. The Senate voted 60-40 to back a revamped GOP funding bill that would keep the government open until the end of January. 8 Democrats joined Republicans to pass the bill, including Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin, Senators Tim Kaine, Catherine Cortez Masto, and Jackie Rosen, among others.
This is the beginning to show and fight for Americans across the country. Let me just say this. With the government open, we can focus on passing a full bipartisan budget for 2026.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome. So let me be clear. No one in the Senate chamber wants to extend the ACA tax credits more than I do.
I joined this group to make sure that we could get important protections for federal employees. And what we have in this bill is the restoration of all the furloughed employees and a guarantee of their back pay.
So despite them touting what they did get, these Dems are facing criticism from their party because the package does not include a deal on Obamacare subsidies. It only includes a guarantee on a vote for the tax credits, far from what progressives and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer had pushed for.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote. We got a lot of work to do, but to be honest with you, tonight was not a good night.
Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna is already targeting Schumer, saying Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop health care premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? Moving forward, senators need to reach a time agreement before holding a final vote on the package. Then it will only need a simple majority to pass the upper chamber.
You see, I think everyone has got this wrong. And on January 6th, I was on a ride along with the police, which I do frequently. And sometimes they let me make siren noises out of the window. Anyway, on January 6th, I brought my pipe with me, which I do frequently. Sometimes I smoke the pipe. But this time, they told me to get out and get rid of it. So I put it under the park bench next to my friend Kamala. Next thing I know, people are saying bomb, bomb, bomb. I think there is a lot of confusion here. I'm sure my dad will sort it out.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. I needed the little chuckle this morning. It has been a very, very long week. We were on the road for more than half the week. Last week. And boy, we are rip-roaring this morning, ready to be back for hopefully a lot of action this week. They will reopen government perhaps in the next hour. A very good thing, I would argue. This has been a pathetic distraction. And also, speaking of distractions, what have we learned about the January 6th pipe bomber? A massive bombshell dropping from the Blaze this weekend, Saturday morning of all mornings. It is, of course, a very hot debate, and President Trump was very hot last night as he flew over an NFL game, got into the booth, and started commentating on the actual goings-on the field. President Trump as NFL commentator. What timeline are we living in? Today is Monday, November 10th, 2025. We'll be joined today by General Michael Flynn, a perfect guest to talk about all of these topics. Florida's Attorney General James Uthmeier, and the VA Secretary Collins, talking about the pain that the government shutdown has caused on our veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. We have one more. Actually, not one more. We probably have an infinite number of Turning Point College Tour events. This next one, and the last event was really fun at Auburn. 10,000 kids in a massive stadium. It was an amazing night to celebrate the America First movement. We'll be celebrating the continuation of that movement and a new generation entering the political fray, potentially our next millennial governor here in the state of Florida. Byron Donalds will be joining me at the University of Florida this week on Thursday, November 13th. It's going to be a rowdy one. They've already had to move locations twice in order to accommodate the crowds. And ladies and gentlemen, here we go. And there's the remix. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Leading the next generation. We're excited to do it. And we're going to be joined by Byron on campus. It's going to be a rowdy night. If you're around Gainesville or Florida in general, go ahead and pack it up and come hang out with us. It is going to be a very interesting week. There's going to be a lot that happens this week, and so we're thrilled to be back in the studio and locked in. I hate doing the show from the road. I like it here. I like locking in with you. And speaking of locking in with you, have you locked your home title? If you're a homeowner in America, you have to listen to this. The FBI is out with some new crime statistics, and cyber crime is skyrocketing. It is the fastest growing type of crime that is logged here in America. And title theft is one of the major cyber crimes. They steal your home's equity. They steal your home. Just like that, with a fake notary stamp, somebody can take your home out from under your feet, even sell your property without you knowing on it, and you just get a foreclosure in the mail. Use promo code Benny today in order to lock in your home title and make sure that you are secure. A free home title lock history report can be yours at HomeTitleLock.com. 24/7 monitoring of your records, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud occurs, a U.S.-based restoration team will spend $1 million to fix it. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have learned in my family the hard way over the last couple months, having a secure home is something that is the most valuable thing in your life. What is the most valuable thing in your life? Your family, your children. Having a home for them to live in obviously goes all together. That family unit is precious. It's from God. Protect it with HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code Benny. Use the link in the description below. Okay. Boys, I want to jump over to President Trump and the flyover because otherwise we're going to miss the whole thing. We're going to miss it. This was just legendary last night. Does this man look like he's bothered to you? Does this man look like he's bothered to you? Does this man look like he's bothered to you? Show me Trump dancing. Show me President Trump hitting the dance move. Let's freaking go. Yeah, look. Oh, Klein. Killer Klein. Here we go. Show me the Trump dance moves. There we go. That's it. This is pretty easy. Ladies and gentlemen, did President Trump? No. I want Donald Trump. I want clip N. Clip N. Come on, boys. Let's freaking go. Show me the Trump dance move. Back to the beginning of the clip. There we go. Does that man look bothered to you? This is President Trump, ladies and gentlemen, at Landover, Maryland, inside of the football stadium there, which is a piece of garbage, by the way. They're losing the Redskins. I'm going to call them the Redskins just because, you know what? Wokeness is dead. And Redskins versus the Lions last night. Donald Trump showing up for the Commander-in-Chief game. They are called the Commanders. And they did a big military reenlistment and recruitment. Of course, President Trump giving this little kid a challenge coin and dancing the night away. Here he goes, rocking and rolling. Does this man look bothered to you? Does this man look bothered to you? The flyover is what's making all of the news. Now, this is the first time that a president has attended a regular season NFL game since 1973. So it's been a full generation. Look at the epicness of this flyover. Look at this thing. Look at what is happening. It is magisterial. Look at that. You've never seen anything like it. I know we have more clips. Give me the clip from the guys on the ground. Man, it's amazing. Oh, so we have like a full montage here. All right. Hey, Alex, give me that clip from people like standing outside of the stadium, seeing just the massiveness of Air Force One. You've never seen a flyover this close to a stadium. It was completely freaking epic. And whether you love Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump, if you're in this audience, you probably love him. Let me know when you get that loaded up, Klein. Pop it up. President Trump knows how to president better than any president that ever presidented. President Trump is a showman. He knows how to embrace the majesty of the office. And Donald Trump is somebody who just uses that in order for pride in the American people, in order to project strength. God, it's freaking awesome. Not the one I'm looking for. I'm talking about the people filming with their phone from outside of the stadium. It's just the freaking coolest thing. And this is there you go. Almost got it, boys. All right. You just get like you got to see like the actual point of view of somebody standing on the ground outside the stadium. This thing is just such a monster. It makes you proud to be an American. Let's listen.
Holy shit.
You've never seen a flyover like this. President Trump, obviously, very proud of himself for this flyover and talking to the press outside of the plane, talking to the media outside of the plane, saying, you ain't never seen a flyover like that before, and then going into the stadium and commentating on the actual NFL game as it was going on. President Trump in the booth last night, talking smack on Joe Biden, and then talking about the actual plays of the game, doing play-by-play call. Here we go.
7. See, we have a very important, I think this is a very important couple of plays.
Here we go. Second and 7.
You're right, 2nd and 7. Let's see what happens. Whoa.
That's
all right.
Whoa.
Not bad.
Takes it down to the 5-yard line.
That's right. That's right. Good runner.
There we go.
This is a very big play, don't you think?
I think
they have to get a touchdown. Let's put it differently. They just have to get a touchdown.
There we go. Now you're doing my job.
All right, now you're doing my job. And Trump just hung out in the booth for like 15 minutes. Trump just stood up in the booth and just let it rip. This is the owner of the Washington Redskins, and they are bringing the Redskins back to Washington, D.C. I was just in D.C. and saw the demolition of what was called RFK Stadium there, named after RFK Jr.'s father. And so they are bringing the Washington Commanders back. Will they bring the Redskins name back? Let me know, ladies and gentlemen, in the comment section. This is just pure strength. And then do we have the boos? I just want to like show everyone the difference between the sides. And this is something that I think is critical that we need to focus on moving forward. There is an atomization movement that is upon us, and it's something that is really dangerous. There are people that hate you more than they love their country. And they don't want to see their country win. They want to see a new pagan refounding of America. They view this country as fundamentally and empirically flawed, and they view you as the enemy. And so they don't share in the same American traditions or even the same good old-fashioned NFL game embrace of our troops. President Trump swearing in troops yesterday was met by this D.C. audience with boos. This is the latest and saddest example of what the left has become. Here we go. So a mix of boos and jeers here for members of our country who were getting sworn in to serve the military. Your fellow countrymen, there they are, getting sworn in to serve America. And the audience booed. Yeah, the swearing in, getting more photos of the cadets. That's fine. I saw there are like a lot of great photos on the field. There you go. Thank you. So it's like the plane was freaking awesome. The flyover was amazing. The energy was amazing from Trump. The swearing in was amazing, but you've got to like see the metaphor here that there is a movement that wants this country to fail. They don't share, that's the one I'm looking for right there. They don't share the same perspective of this nation. They don't share the same vision for the future. They don't have the same motivations that you do to simply see America succeed. Look at these bright faces of people who are taking an oath to serve their nation, either enlist or re-enlist, and they were getting booed by the libs who attend games in Maryland, the godforsaken stadium in Maryland, and who watch DC football games. It sucks. And so this is what we're fighting. This is what we're fighting. Keep that in mind. Because there is something extremely dangerous that is happening right now where where major forces are trying to split up the MAGA movement. I've decided not to engage in this battle because I think the entire battle itself is an op. And I'm sick of ops. I am sick of having people try and break up this winning coalition. The goal is to give the people who will boo our armed services power and do it permanently. And they're getting desperate. The 2030 census is coming around the corner. They know that it's going to become very hard based on the math to win a national election ever again. And they are getting exceedingly desperate. This is what they want to deliver the nation over to. The people who will boo our U.S. military and our president at an NFL game. Young men and women who are enlisting in our armed services. You see it in New York. You see it balkanized throughout the nation. This is what we're actually fighting. I am calling on everyone to lay down their arms, put aside their differences, and recognize that the Marxist will behave when they get power exactly the way that they have always behaved. Marxists in every nation where they seize power and they feel that they are under threat resort immediately to violence, to concentration camps, to the wholesale slaughter of the populations of that country that are inconvenient to them. Stalin, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot, every single communist leader in the modern era has engaged in this behavior. Castro, the Un dynasty. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the enemy. It is the enemy that is not at our gates. It is inside of our gates. And they're booing service members as they're being enlisted on the field because they don't like the president. So just an important table setting as to why I'm going to refuse to engage in the drama that is attempting to rip the right in half. I'm not going to engage. I'm going to stay focused on the true enemy and not on distractions. All right? That's what America First would actually be. If you're actually America First, wouldn't you be focused on America? Wouldn't you be focused on the solutions for this country that make life better in this country for our people? Wouldn't you be focused on the native population of this country and ensuring that they're living as good a life as we can possibly create a future for our children, our American children first? America for our American children? I'm so sick of ops, man. I'm so sick of the distractions. I really am. Speaking of people who would be willing to let the country burn and engaged, by the way, in pernicious conspiracy theories in order to make sure that Donald Trump would never become president again, including the January 6th pipe bomb. We're going to talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, in just one moment. Masa chips. Why do I love them? Because Masa chips, especially when we're up late at night and I'm studying this next story that we were about to cover, well, there's something easy for snacking. Do you have a snacking problem late at night? I certainly do. We're going to talk about the biggest story that broke this weekend, and it broke in the small hours of the evening. And in those hours, I have a problem with needing to just go down, sometimes get a midnight snack, is what they were called. And Masa chips is the snack of choice in my household. They have 3 ingredients. None of the toxins, bloat, literal petroleum products that get put into other chips, just corn and salt and beef tallow. They are completely approved by my nurse wife, who is very picky about what our children eat, and my children eat them like crazy. This is something that is constantly at our dinner table because they are so damn good. You can try any flavor that you want: original, white, blue, lime, habanero, or churro. They even have a dessert chip. Give Masa a try. Go to masachips.com/Benny and use the code Benny for 25% off your first order. That's masachips.com/Benny. Use the code Benny for 25% off your first order. Also available at Sprouts Market. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on with this new report from the Blaze? Let's talk about it, and let's talk about the major takeaways. I've read this like 100 times over. I've seen some of the detractors, and we're going to cover all of it. And we're going to cover from every angle. Here's the report. This is the report from Steve Baker and Joseph Hanneman, published in the Blaze, naming a Capitol police officer as the pipe bomber, a female Capitol police officer. Alleged suspect named Shawnee Kerkhoff produced a 94% match when it comes to forensic gait analysis. Now, this is something that was teased on Friday, but they didn't go all the way, and now they went all the way. So this is what the Blaze is alleging. The Blaze in their report has said that based on exclusive video that has not been released by the FBI, but that was able to be acquired in their investigation, they've matched that up with video of this specific officer on January 6th. They also go into Kyle Serafin, who was an FBI agent who was working on this case. Turns out that he was analyzing someone as the suspect who lived next door to the alleged bomber here before he was yanked off the case and taken off the case with no explanation. The major backbone of this story goes like this: that the individual has a very specific, every individual has a very specific way that they walk. It's it's identifiable, almost like a fingerprint. And that their analysis was able to match at a 94 to 98% accuracy rate this Capitol Hill police officer who was also involved in January 6th, firing non-lethal rounds, headshots at some of the January 6th protesters. And that Kerkhoff, Capitol Police officer for 4.5 years, left the department and now works for the CIA. People are making these connections. The Blaze is effectively saying that this is enough to merit further investigation. This is the take on the Blaze, and then throughout the article, you can see here that they have side-by-sides, sort of saying same height, same gait, on location during January 6th, a distinctive walk, slight limp, 7'5" frame, and other factors, including numerous intelligence tips that the blaze has received. So this is what's out there, along with, of course, the very strange behavior of the bombs themselves, and the Secret Service reaction to them. All of it, ladies and gentlemen, has created a massive mystery around what's been going on in this investigation. The Secret Service reaction to the pipe bomb, of course, is very strange. The Secret Service agents, when notified that there was a pipe bomb, just kept eating in their cars. They still had Kamala Harris in the building. They let kids and people walking their dogs walk right past. They let trains run with the bomb next to them. Something was up. Somebody knew something. The understanding from the Capitol Police Chief, Stephen Sund, as he has posted multiple times this weekend, and we know Stephen Sund, and he's a dear friend of the show, is that this was intended to be a distraction. It was intended to be a distraction to pull an already depleted Capitol Police force away from the U.S. Capitol in order to allow for the riot that eventually overcame the Capitol, and we call that January 6th. How you could have prevented that would have been very easy. You simply put National Guard troops around the Capitol. You station them, and then there would be no riot. Certainly some people would yell, maybe some naughty words, but nobody would have rioted, and no crimes would have been committed. But not only did they not station the National Guard, even though Trump offered it, they pulled away a beleaguered and already exhausted and depleted Capitol Police force in order to make the U.S. Capitol totally and completely susceptible for some type of breach activity. This is what Stephen Sund says. Pipe bombs were discovered at the perfect time to distract, divide, and deplete my resources. The American people demand truth. I don't know. I'm going to say allegedly, and I'm going to just base it on this report. This is not my report. I did not do the investigation. This is what the Blaze is saying. The Blaze is saying that this suspect needs to be further investigated. Based on this available data, at the very least, we would want to know whether this has legs, whether this has the sturdiness to withstand questions and investigations. So this is everything that's out there. This is everything in the report. And I've summarized the report, and I think I've hit every single beat on it. Now, let's go to what the FBI says. The FBI has gotten back to Brianna Morello. She's a great reporter, and she has asked for comment, as have I. So here's what the FBI commented. The FBI has officially gone on the record with me. They claim that they are still investigating who placed the pipe bomb on Capitol Hill. If you know who did it, the agency says $500,000 is still up for grabs. So this is the FBI's statement. We're going to do our best to be as fair as possible to everybody involved here. The investigation into who placed the pipe bomb on Capitol Hill remains a high priority for the FBI and its partners. $500,000 remains in effect for those who place for tips on the individual who placed the pipe bomb. Source leads have helped us advance the investigation into expediency and professionalism. The public should assist in seeking in the information webpage. So what this is effectively saying is that they don't think that this is the suspect. That's what the FBI is effectively saying in this statement. That the Blaze has it wrong. There's no other way to accept this statement other than they're saying the Blaze has it wrong. So what has because we've reached out, what has our FBI connections and federal law enforcement connections said? They've said, this is preliminary. Effectively, let me summarize because I reached out all weekend. The effective summary is this is preliminary information that's new to the FBI, and they're hunting it down, but everybody needs to be cautious and careful about it. So we're doing our level-headed best to be as cautious and careful about it, but it's out there, and we need to talk about it. This is what both sides now are saying. It's going to be very, very interesting to observe what happens next here. I think at the very least, the American public deserves a real investigation. Darren Beatty was on this program saying that this pipe bomber is the key to everything. And that if let's say that they did find out that it was a Capitol Hill police officer. Well, then there's only one conclusion, which is that the entire thing was centrally planned and centrally designed in order to destroy Donald Trump and put him in prison. That is not only the only conclusion, that is the logical conclusion based on all available data. Even right now, it is the logical conclusion. Nonetheless, it would be really nice to see a full and true and real investigation into what happened, and then to find the single terrorist. There's only one terrorist on January 6th, and that's the pipe bomber. A reminder that the pipe bomber did, in fact, wave at Capitol Police. You can see here, the pipe bomber waved at a passing Capitol Police cruiser. That is, at the very least, how this clip plays out. You can see a friendly wave as a Capitol Police vehicle passes by. It's caused many people to have major suspicions. The final thing on this is that those who are familiar with this reporting say that this is just the first. Maybe you'll say, hey, listen, gate analysis, that's not enough. I need DNA. I need some type of confession. Well, those who are familiar with this report and how it's going and where it's going to go, they're teasing out that there's so much more that is yet to come. And so we will stay on it. We will continue to watch it. And we will continue to bring on experts like General Flynn to talk about, well, what's truly happening here and what is happening in our nation when it comes to our federal government being capable and willing to lie to us, to frame innocent Americans, which is what January 6th was. But it all started with General Flynn, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us live right now, General Michael Flynn. General, it all started with you. You were the first man, certainly not the first man in history, but the first man in the modern Trump era framed by the federal government. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, subpoenaed this weekend, late into the small hours of the evening on Friday, based on their collusion in order to destroy your life. Your response, General.
Yeah, so Benny, let's, and I don't know how much time you want with me this morning here, but for your audience, which is really an important audience, because your audience is not just listening to you, but they spread themselves all over, certainly our country and all over the world, on things like social media and in various conversations in communities writ large. And I think the single biggest problem that Donald J. Trump has right now is I don't know, it's like there's a loss of trust. And this loss of trust was clear from the last administration, and it's trust in the institutions of government. So the big, the big picture here is Donald Trump, President Trump, has to reestablish trust with the American people. He's got to do it, and he's got to do it here, in a very short period of time. And every day that goes by, he loses a little bit more of an opportunity to reestablish the trust. Now, so let's put that aside, because specifically, you just made a really strong statement that there's only one terrorist in the J6 with this pipe bomber. Actually, what I would offer is that there is a conspiracy, and it's a continuing conspiracy to undermine our country, right? And it all started when Donald J. Trump actually won the election in 2016. So you're right to say that I was at the beginning of this thing, because I was one of the key targets at the very beginning. So,
yes.
Why me, right? Why me? And why am I on right now talking about this specific
You
issue?
were the target.
Yeah.
They were obsessed with you, General.
Yeah,
you were the target.
Right. And it's because, and anybody that's been paying attention to me for years now understands why. But again, I have had, nearly 4 decades of my life in the world of intelligence, counterintelligence, and specifically the world of counterterrorism, and conducting operations, not only, from a foreign perspective, but also from a domestic perspective, because I worked at the highest levels of our government, running one of the largest intel agencies, and also at the highest level of our intelligence community, as one of the deputy directors of national intelligence. So not only for a short period of time as national security advisor. So I have this abundance of knowledge and experience that lets me see things, and I still am able to see things because I have various networks of people that that continue to operate, and they're looking at these same issues. The big issue here, Benny, and to your great audience and those that listen, and I know there's a lot of people that listen to you and are influenced by the kinds of people that you have on, as well as what you say. There is a conspiracy, and it continues to operate today to undermine and to take over the United States of America. Anybody that follows me on X, I posted something on X this morning, which is a warning. It is a warning, again, that I continue to put out there because I want people to understand that this has not ended. So let's specifically talk about this pipe bomber, right? I mean, there's going to be evidence that's going to come out. And again, because I know Cash and I know Dan Bongino, and I've had backs and forths with them, over the last few weeks and months. And that's fine because I am trying to make sure that they understand that the American people that I talk to at a grassroots level, and I talk to thousands, and I continue to go around, and I love people. I love to engage with people, and I do it routinely. They're telling me what's going on. Is there, why aren't these people doing more? What is happening? So all we want to know, all we, the American people, want to know is that the leadership of our government, right? The leadership of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the leadership of the Department of Justice, the leadership in the White House is not trying to hide something. They can no longer hide something from us. And I don't believe that they are. What I do believe, and let me just take the FBI as an example, because, and I know Cash and Dan both, and I have the greatest respect for them. This is an organization that's about 40,000 people. Both of these men have only been in there for a few months. So I got all the, this is the early stages stuff that we are dealing with. The American people are not seeing enough reforms. They're not seeing enough, of I guess, standing up courageously. And I don't, and I'm being a bit pejorative here, but not standing up courageously enough to say, hey, look, we have identified serious problems in the FBI. I mean, look at what Congress has already demonstrated, that there was 250, 300 FBI agents on the Capitol grounds of January 6th. We know that, and I've said this before, even this pipe bomber, like, people are going to study this person, this now working for the CIA or whatever, ad nauseum. But you cannot have that many people, and I know this, and I'll say it again, and I may have said it on your show before. You cannot have that many people show up on one day without having a plan prior to that, right? So and we didn't know, the American people, there was no intent to have some type of insurrection on January 6th. The only people that I can pin that talked about intentionally having some type of plan for January 6th, in this case, is the FBI for sure, Nancy Pelosi for sure, who had a film crew there, but the FBI for sure had a plan to do something, that was really against what we thought was supposed to happen, which was a peaceful demonstration to show our respect and our love and our trust in the President of the United States, to listen to what he had to say. Yet we had 300 people, and I'll just use the number 300, FBI agents that day, and also on the 5th, because the pipe bomber, when the time frame that they put the pipes out there, when the drivers were parked across from the Capitol Club there, I mean, all these things had to have been planned. None of this stuff happened in a vacuum. None of this stuff said because people woke up, Ray woke up that morning of January 6th and said, hey, I got to have 300 guys out there, all dressed as MAGA, all trying to infiltrate, to get people from around the country to show up, okay? To show up to Washington, D.C., because apparently some of these individuals, they didn't come out of the Washington field office. They didn't come out of the FBI headquarters. They came from all over the country, and they showed up. And we know of buses that came in. So we know too much about this. All of that had to have been planned. For people to show up to Washington, D.C., if you're an FBI agent and you're told, hey, come into Washington, D.C., for a week's worth of events, which is essentially what they were told, they got to get extra pay. They got to get their flights. They got to get all the kinds of things that a government employee has to go through. And they have to sit down there. Somebody sat them down, not on the 6th, probably not on the 5th, but days prior. And those are the types of people that I want. And I want Kash Patel and I want Dan Bongino to go after these people. The police car that they waved to, that this, alleged pipe bomber waved to as they were going by. I guarantee that somebody can find out who that police car was. What did they think that person was? Are they being asked questions? I mean, the level of details and the level of knowledge that we have as American people. So let's stop all the BS. Let's stop all the conspiracy theories, Kash and Dan, and let's get to the facts of what we now know, what the Congress has already demonstrated, what we are starting to see from, the Blaze, from you, from others. And let's come out to the American people now, and I mean now, because time is not on our side. Time is not on Donald J. Trump's side. I mean, big win, get the government opened up. I got all that. Wonderful. There's a lot of other challenges that we are facing. There's a lot of glass balls that are being juggled by this administration. War in Europe, war in the Middle East, war potentially in the Southern Hemisphere, regarding Venezuela. We got all these issues, right? All these glass balls that are being juggled. The biggest glass ball that is very fragile is the glass ball of trust. And if the American people, or if our institutions of government don't understand that, I implore them to understand that. If they drop that ball, and I'm telling you, it's like this. It's like they're trying to do all these things over here from a foreign perspective, but the glass ball of trust, Benny, is the most fragile. And
yeah, of course.
And it's only been restored a little bit. It hasn't been restored completely. It's only been restored a little bit because the American people said last November, we want you, Donald J. Trump, we're giving you the full judgment and the full weight of our desire to do something better for our country. And he hired a group of people, and we can go through the whole litany of them if you want, but he hired a group of people to basically help restore that trust. And that's what we want. So I want our leaders, because we have a different media environment, Benny, and you're a big part of that. But we have an alternative or an independent media environment that's moving at I call it the speed of war right now. And so you got to get out in front of it, because once something starts to go, then division creeps in to our movement. And our movement is not the MAGA movement. Our movement is the American Patriot movement. And it is a bunch of people in this country that love our country, and they will go with the sound of the guns if Donald J. Trump, if Kash Patel, if Pam Bondi, if Tulsi Gabbard, if Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, all get out there and tell us what it is that they are doing to juggle those balls so they don't drop them. In this particular case, back to the very beginning, back to the essence of our conversation today, which is about this pipe bomber. This is an easy one. This is a very easy one. Bring that person in that everybody's identified. Apparently they're still in the government, and question them. Easy. And if they can't pass the muster, then put them under investigation and let the American people know that they're under investigation. That's the same with Russiagate. It's the same with everything else that's going on. I mean, and I'll stop here in a sec, Benny, because I know it's your show here, but I want your audience to know that if there's one thing that I live for, and there's one thing that I demand of myself, and I demand it of our government, is honesty. And we're imperfect. I got it. We make mistakes. I got it. But I want honesty, and I want honesty right now, and I want it because we are going to run out of time. And I'm very concerned about this last election, Benny, this last election that just occurred. People aren't paying enough attention to what exactly happened during that. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to go to the 2026 elections and suddenly we go, oh, shoot, we should have, would have, could have done all these other things. And we wake up and we no longer have Congress. That would be devastating. And like I said, we're not one generation away from losing this country, as Ronald Reagan said, losing all our freedoms. We're one presidency. And now my point is we may be one election away if we don't move faster. People need to move at the speed of Trump. Trump is moving at lightning speed on everything that he does. And all I'm asking for those that are working inside of the government is to try to keep up with them.
Well, General, you began by asking how much time we have. We have we had 25 minutes. That was the first 15. So I want to go quickly through the next at least 2 questions that I have for you. First on the pipe bomb. What do you, based on your extensive experience in terrorism, counterterrorism, ops, and leaving out, I guess, some of the larger scale allegations in this big piece, what was this op?
Yeah.
What did you see? What do you see when you see the pipe bomber and you see what happened on that evening of January the 5th? What was going on there based on your extensive experience?
Yeah, let me tell you a quick story. In Afghanistan, a vehicle was blown up by a bomb, by a roadside bomb, millions of pieces. We did very, very detailed forensics of the device. Okay, I mean extremely detailed forensics of that device, and we would find these what we call latent fingerprints. And I mean, this thing is in a million pieces. You know, sadly, soldiers were killed in that roadside bomb. But we were able to find a latent fingerprint. I mean, a partial fingerprint. And then from that fingerprint, we were able to then identify the individual who was the creator of that bomb, who made that bomb. That wasn't the person that put the bomb in place, but it was the person who made the bomb. We then went after that individual, and it took us a little bit, and we eventually killed that individual. And this was on the battlefield. So there are ways to forensically, and I mean examine to the nth degree exactly what is being carried, what is being placed. And I mean, they will make a mistake. These people will make a mistake. So that's number one. The other thing is, this is easy. We can solve this problem very quickly by looking at the perimeter, looking at the phones, looking at the folks that were parked around there, asking questions. I mean, you know, you mentioned earlier on about the Secret Service detail that was there. They were told about it, and they went back to drinking their milkshake. I mean, come on, folks.
They sat and ate we have footage of it. They ate their lunch. They finished their lunch. Hey, so, pipe bomb here. Okay, great. I got a hoagie.
Right.
So what happened?
But none of us should be asking these questions right now. These should have already been answered, and I hope that they have been. I hope that the FBI and Cash and Dan have created a task force to look specifically at this issue, because we did have at the time the Vice President of the United States in that building. Yes. There's a bomb. Somebody planted it. We now have a what clearly looks like a suspect. But I would tell you, there's so much in terms of detailed forensic analysis that I believe still must be done. Wow. And I would tell you,
what was the op then, General? What was the purpose of the op? Our functional theory here, based on interviews with Stephen Sund, was to draw forces away from the Capitol to make it vulnerable. Do you agree with that, or is there something I'm missing?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I don't think it was a distraction or a deception. I really don't. I think that this was so well planned that these are just events that then when you connect the dots, if you're a conspiracy theorist and you connect the dots, you go, oh my God, you know, Donald Trump and some cohort of people, you know, they planned an insurrection against the United States of America on this, you know, fateful day of 6 January. No, I actually think that this is another element that planned this conspiracy. And then these were elements of that conspiracy and the bombing, you know, a pipe bomb delivered somewhere. This is not to draw forces away. They had plenty of forces. They had the entire Capitol Police. They had the Metropolitan Police Department that, you know, and I'm a fan of some of these men and women that are there, but there's clearly a group of them that were part of this. The Capitol Police, for sure. Elements of the Secret Service, elements of the FBI. We already know elements of the FBI were involved in it. So this wasn't to draw resources away. This was to have a nice, neat package that made it look like Donald J. Trump was going to commit some type of insurrection of our country at a time when clearly that was not the case. And
just to pin it all on MAGA.
Yeah,
just to pin it all on MAGA.
Exactly.
That's why I say, General, you'd have all of the MAGA base and everyone in America first being like, catch this terrorist. It's bewildering to me, General, because this is the terrorist that you would assume would unite the left and the right. You want to catch them.
Exactly.
Everybody says, go catch this person. And yet this seems to be the only J6er that can't be identified or caught. It's very strange to me.
Well, it's also, and remember, the sitting vice president, you know, at the time, I mean, we're talking about I'm sorry, in terms of Kamala Harris.
Vice President-elect,
yeah. Vice President-elect was in that facility.
Yes.
I mean, and it's like, and we're kind of like, no, I mean, we're like, oh, this is.
And they never talk about it.
They never talk about it.
They never talk about it. They've never used that as like
right.
as a victimhood card. Right. Okay, so you're no victim, and obviously you are victorious against these actions against you. But it must have put a small smile on your face, just even a crack of a smile on the general's face to see Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, the man who did the interview with you, by the way, to frame you, get dragged into a subpoena as part of the grand criminal conspiracy. Subpoenas that are an impaneled grand jury here in Southern District of Florida, not a friendly jurisdiction for them. Right. And I have to get your take on this, General.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this is the necessary step, and I want to see these. I want to see these things happen very quickly. I'd add another name, Joe Pienka, who was actually in the office with me, and Peter Strzok, and in most, and everybody knows now that I didn't lie to those guys right at that time, but they then turned the whole thing around. So it's not just about me, but actually, I actually feel very bad about that fact that this is happening to our country. But it is. We have to face the reality. And these subpoenas, I think, are just the beginning. But I'm telling you that time is not on America's side. It is not on President Trump's side. And I can see it in his face. I can see it in his words. Sometimes when he gets frustrated about the things that aren't happening, and American people also. I mean, you can see it online. I see it. So I want this to happen. I want it to happen on a faster timeline. And there are other people who are not named in that headline that could be brought in and questioned. And believe me, they would give up the farm because they know exactly what happened because they were in the room. They were in the room. And when these conversations were happening about conspiring to overthrow the United States of America solely because their heir apparent to the undermining of our country, Hillary Clinton, was not elected in 2016. That's the whole reason. And now we're here in 2025. We got another month and a half left or so of 2025. And we're all sort of still waiting. And I think that I'm not going to speak for Donald Trump, but I think President Trump, honestly, I think he gets up like I get up sometimes with a feeling of anxiety, like this shit needs to move faster, Benny. And I'm talking to the people that are around him. Because the American people are tired of it. And I'm telling you, you got more and more, guys and gals that are out there with big voices that are saying, hey, what's happening? And we want it to happen faster.
What's your parting message to indicted James Comey, who's now making court appearances, and now to Peter Strzok, who is under federal investigation?
Yeah, my shot to James Comey is, James, do the right thing and help save this country. Right? If you did something to undermine this country, which it appears that you did, and there's an abundance of evidence, don't try to wait it out because there's some subversives inside of the Department of Justice in various districts that are going to help you out there, buddy. Do the right thing for the future of America. You will then be remembered as somebody who actually did the right thing at the right moment in history, and you took the higher moral high ground to do the right thing and to say the right thing. You know what, Jim? That's what you need to do instead of, allowing your ego and your arrogance to drive you down into the bowels of hell, because that's where you're going to end up.
And your parting message to Peter Strzok, who put you under the gun and framed you, and now it turns out that he, the hunter, has become the hunted.
Yeah, Peter Strzok, boy. Peter Strzok and Joe Pienka. There's another one that doesn't get much play, but Peter Strzok, he's a guy that gave up on his country, on this country, in this beautiful country we call the United States of America, a long time ago. And I would say his mentor or his officer, his agent, is John Brennan. So Peter Strzok. You need to give up on John Brennan, because Brennan is at the center of everything.
I would say that if these guys flipped and then confessed and then assisted in the federal government's prosecution of this grand conspiracy theory, just like General Flynn is advising here, that General Flynn might be able to share his tailor with them. Because here's General Flynn this weekend, walking with the dopest jacket I have ever seen. This drip is fire, General.
It is.
What is this? Look at the footage, look at the photos of this incredible, what has to be a custom American flag Patriot jacket. Let's go, more.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Where did you get this, General?
I was given that at a conference that Gateway Pundit put on in Las Vegas called the Vindication Summit.
Look at this.
Yeah, it's great. It's a full leather custom fit. I loved it. It was an appropriate day for me to wear it. I don't wear it much, but it was an appropriate day for me to wear it with the Veterans Parade Foundation that does a beautiful annual national parade, not paid, and there's no money paid by the government at all. It's all from the grassroots of American citizens. And we had a wonderful day yesterday, great turnout, and I was honored and humbled to be the Grand Marshal.
What would you do, Chad? What would you do, Chad, if you saw General Flynn on a scooter, on a Lime bike, zipping through your hood in this jacket? What would you do?
That was cool.
What would you do? Look at these photos.
My wife and I.
We are saddened that you don't have that jacket on today. Maybe next time, General.
Next time.
Thank you so much. Obviously, everyone follow General Flynn. He's got millions of followers here on X and other platforms, and just one of the strongest voices for freedom in the whole damn world. Godspeed, General.
Godspeed. Thank you, Benny. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have some fascinating news. I hear from my producer that the Attorney General of Florida is going to be breaking on our program in just one moment. It has to do with some brand new investigations into financial problems in the nation. We'll see. We'll see what happens next. But I can tell you this, there should be an investigation into some of the exorbitant and what I view as criminal fees that are charged by credit card companies. Household debt is skyrocketing, is out of control in this nation. It's something that obviously needs to be addressed. These are huge, critical, existential problems for our administration. And when you have an American people that are not thriving and do not believe that the American dream is attainable, you have a broken country. And that is why I'm partnering with American Financing to make sure that young homeowners can get out of debt, specifically pernicious credit card debt that has usury rates in the 20s and 30s. This is not good. Get out of that debt, please. Call American Financing today at 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny can help you save thousands of dollars by refinancing and getting your debt dropped back and consolidated into good rates. This is something that we care about. The financial future of our nation, ladies and gentlemen, depends on you making smart choices. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're going to do on this program. Smart choice would be booking Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier on this show in order to tell us about what's happening next in the great state of Florida. Let's go. Mr. Attorney General, welcome back to the program. Always an honor to have you on.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Okay, so we've spent the weekend, actually, with Eric Trump, and we did a speech with him last week, and we talked about his book, Under Siege, and part of that book was a crisis that happened to the Trump administration that also happened to tons of Americans, debanking. And this was a tactic of the left in order to undergird the ability to effectively cut out of society, like leopards, the people that the left viewed as potential political enemies. And so I hear that you potentially have some news to break on that this morning on our program.
We sure do. Yeah, the Biden DOJ they wrongly went after the president. They wrongly went after conservatives. They wrongly went after the Trump family, the Trump enterprise, with everything they could to lock them up, to shut down their businesses, to force them to fire all their employees. It was wrong. It was criminal. And here in Florida, we're fighting back. The revelations of Arctic Frost have revealed that the Biden DOJ was working with JP Morgan Chase Bank, and ultimately the bank provided the DOJ with sensitive banking information of Trump Media Group, a Florida-based company, and they also debanked that company just before it went public, days before it was publicly traded. That's a time that's pretty dang important for a business. To lose your bank is very harmful. This was wrong. We believe it was coordinated with the Department of Justice under the Biden administration, and we're going to investigate and get to the bottom of it. There certainly are probably consumer protection issues, violations of Florida law, and where you're talking about coordinated fraud, there could be criminal implications as well.
This is massive. JP Morgan Chase is one of the largest financial institutions on the planet. Their engagement in this kind of activity would assume that perhaps they were trying to tank the stock of the Trump Media Group right before they went public. Is that correct? I heard that right?
The timing is certainly suspicious. Yeah, just a few days before they go public, to lose the bank, that could be very damaging for a business at a crucial time. So if there indeed was intentionality there, an effort to tank the stock, we could be talking about serious implications. And what's more is, to the extent they're cooperating with the Department of Justice on something related to this ridiculous J6 conspiracy investigation, Truth Social under Trump Media didn't even come into existence until almost around a year after January 6th. So it's clear they were asking for information that predates the existence of the company. They're asking for information that goes beyond just business practices that a bank should ask about. And here in Florida, our Office of Attorney General is going to get to the bottom of why.
You would never want, I try and flip these things around, and you would never want some type of pernicious debanking or prosecution or bullets being fired at our political enemies. I roundly say no to all of that, right? I disavow all of that. Win on the battlefield of ideas. Don't fire bullets, or don't engage in these third world, and this is really what it is, these third world practices of trying to kulak your fellow countrymen, trying to kick them out of all society. Debanking someone, especially a family as powerful and as wealthy and as operable as the Trumps, is clearly trying to signal that you should never do any business with this family ever again. Is that what your office believes?
That's right. That's absolutely right. There's a coordinated effort between prosecutors that do not have probable cause, that are engaged in malicious prosecutions, and businesses out there that want to discriminate against conservatives,
yes,
against Christians, against people that, have First Amendment protections. Just imagine if you're a conservative at home, and right as you're going through the mortgage process to buy your first home, your bank up and leaves you. That's what this harm truly means to people. We've got a lot of Florida residents that have suffered harms. Here in Florida, we take debanking seriously, so we've recently passed legislation to give our state and law enforcement more tools to go after companies that might be engaging in discrimination. And here, Trump Media Group is just a prime highlighted example of the Department of Justice and possibly either coerced or coordinating companies trying to take out a family, trying to take out a conservative movement, and thanks be to God, they failed.
Yeah, according to Eric Trump's book, they went after everything, the hotels and all privately owned, publicly owned units, the massive multi-billion dollar business. And so to collapse financially, the intention, of course, is to just destroy the business internally, because if you take the bank away, then you really take the foundation out from the ability to pay payroll, the ability to pay your staff, the ability to service any agreement. You put yourself in huge legal jeopardy when you do that. And so this was catastrophic for JP Morgan to do. And you believe that it's criminal. Could you please unpack that?
Well, if you've got a coordinated effort to defraud, we do get into criminal implications. And an investigation is going to have to reveal the evidence to get into that discussion. At a minimum, we believe there's evidence of consumer protection violations in the state. But if you see an internal coordinated effort to harm a company right before they go public, that could indeed be fraud. And so we're going to investigate. We're going to get as much information as possible. We will go both after the private company, but we're also going to continue issuing subpoenas and going after Biden officials that deviated from their public service responsibilities, that deviated beyond their role as a government employee. You lose the immunities and protections of being a government employee when you engage in criminal behavior, when you engage in malicious prosecutions. When you try to take people down through political witch hunts, ruin their lives, ruin their businesses, ruin their families. That's wrong. It's been allowed to happen for too long. And it's about time that conservative leaders, attorneys general, officials fight back.
You know, what, like everyone can go back to, like the Jim Crow South, right? Or, like see what business segregation and malicious business practices look like. Nobody would ever assume, obviously, based on civil rights protections and some of the, we have Harmeet Dillon on the show all the time, and she's constantly fighting various businesses and organizations that discriminate against conservatives and trying to set the tables correctly here. When it comes to banking, it's just, it's wild to see that this was such a wide scale practice for anybody that voted for Trump, that was at the rally on January 6th, for anybody that worked with President Trump. They were really trying to destroy their lives. What would be the justification here for JP Morgan to do this to the president's family? Like what could they possibly tell you about their behavior here that would justify this action?
Well, we certainly are going to be eager to hear from them. My guess is, they're going to point to either some sort of demanded or coercive behavior of the federal government, be it the DOJ, be it the SEC, other, inquiring entities. But to debank somebody, that's a pretty heightened threshold.
Yes.
You can't just go out there and turn off the accounts of your consumers. So they're definitely going to have some explaining to do. And you hit the nail on the head. All of this goes back to some of our foundational civil rights concepts in this country.
Yes.
As we're trying to get corporations back to the business of doing business and out of political witch hunts, out of advocacy for DEI and ESG and some of these discriminatory preferences in their hiring and operations. I know states all over the country want to go past these anti-DEI laws. I don't think we need that. We have civil rights laws on the books in all states. They just have not been enforced in a very long time. But what's happening out there in corporate America is wrong. It's ironic that it starts to look a lot like social Marxism that's buried itself into our center of capitalism. And we see proxy advisors, we see Wall Street analysts, we see the banks all pressuring businesses to engage in these woke liberal practices. And we're going to fight back. We're going to hold them accountable. We're going to enforce our civil rights laws, and we're going to get businesses back to the business of doing business.
Yes, you're exactly right. The laws are already on the books. They simply need to be enforced. I did want to ask your question about something that's happening in New York, since, of course, that is the center of finance, although probably not for long. A committed and avowed Marxist has been elected in New York, and this is his platform. Something that I find wild, that it's our show that actually goes and reads every single plank of the platform and was able to find this, but it's true. He says it's time to tax white people more. He straight up says it on his website. It's time to go tax whiter neighborhoods. Well, I mean, based on my reading of this and based on my knowledge of civil rights laws in this country, it's patently illegal and immoral. Now, a two-part question for you, Mr. Attorney General. One, what does this mean for the state of Florida when it comes to migration from New York? Because nobody wants to live like in Hotel Rwanda, right? Nobody wants to live under policies like this where you're taxed more because of your skin color. What the hell is going on here? And then two, is this criminal? Like, would this be able to happen in Florida?
Look, saying you're going to tax people because they're white is horrific. It is extremely illegal. That is in no way legal. He cannot get that done. The courts would intervene. I think even liberal courts would have to intervene. They wouldn't have a choice there. I think he was pretty open about who he was on the campaign trail, and people for some reason voted for him anyway. But anybody that was not informed is certainly waking up now, hearing his very dangerous rhetoric that runs counter to the very foundations of the country here in which we live. Here in Florida, our realtors are telling us they're getting hundreds of thousands of calls from people wanting to move and relocate. And look, we're happy to be the beacon of hope for the country. We'll take people in, but we're full. I mean, we really are full. So we're not looking for anybody else. But if they come down here, they certainly better be law-abiding citizens. We're happy to see registrations, coming in a conservative fashion. We continue to do the best we can to fight for our state. But we're not looking for any more people. So I hope they'll look at the rest of the country, because we are full.
Look at this. I mean, this map is wild, Mr. Attorney General. Florida, of course, is the #1 landing spot for New York and the #2 landing spot for Californians. They are flocking here. And this map is from 2022. I have a feeling that things are going to accelerate as those states collapse.
They certainly will. I warn them, do not bring California or New York policies here. We will run you right back out of here. We fight for what's right and just and true here in the state of Florida every day.
Well, you're going to get a lot of inflow if the state gets rid of property taxes. A final question for you, Mr. Attorney General. How could that happen? I'm not sure if that's in your wheelhouse. Is that a policy that you're working on? How do you see it going? A lot of people are quite interested in that. It's been teased quite a bit over the last couple of weeks.
Sure. Yeah. Look, getting rid of property taxes would be a great achievement. Florida would again lead the nation. Governor DeSantis is out in front on this. He's fighting hard. He usually delivers when he says he's going to do something. Elimination of property taxes would need to be something on the constitutional ballot where voters will come in and get it done. I can tell you it is very popular. So I think if it gets on the ballot, ultimately people will come out in flocks to overwhelmingly vote for it. There's different variations on how that gets done. I know the governor is championing it. He's talking to the legislature. They tend to resist a little bit, but he, like I said, he usually gets what he wants, and the state of Florida is all the more blessed because of it.
And a parting question for you about the impaneling of a grand jury. I know that this is obviously something that's happening on a federal level, but for the grand criminal conspiracy, it's happening here in Florida. So I'm sure that you're read into it, and I wanted to get just perhaps your takeaway on how that is moving. It seems to be of great import to the president and to our audience, based on the raid of Mar-a-Lago and the greater overall conspiracy. Can you give us any update on that?
Well, I think, as you know, grand jury proceedings are confidential. So as much as I'd love to be able to talk about it, there's not much to share. I do know we've got a great U.S. attorney down in South Florida that's an enforcer of rule of law. You had a lot of prosecutors under the Biden administration that were living in glass houses. They were engaged in malicious, wrongful practices, and they themselves didn't have themselves buttoned up legally. So I'm glad these investigations are going on. I hope to see them continue in timely fashion, and hopefully we get some news very soon.
Yes. All right. Well, here's hoping, and deeply thankful for you, Mr. Attorney General. Obviously, you've been on our program multiple times championing the rule of law, warning libs from California, New York, that if you come here, you best behave. And we love to hear it. We love
That's right.
This.
Do not California or Florida. Absolutely not.
This is right. Here's the Attorney General here. He has 50,000 followers and subscribers on X. He is one of the single most effective and very humble Attorney Generals in the entire United States of America. And we're proud to have him here in the free state of Florida. God bless you.
Thank you, Benny.
Thanks, James. Ladies and gentlemen, I hear that potentially within hours, we may well have an end to the government shutdown. That would be spectacular. I I don't like these styles of distractions. I don't like these tactics. We are obviously getting this information from our Patriot Mobile devices as we check them constantly. I have multiple devices sitting here right in front of me at all times. I'm looking at 7 different screens, making sure that we are up to date. It hasn't happened exactly yet, but there was a vote, a procedural vote to move forward. Democrats siding with Republicans on sort of a suite of, I guess you could call them sort of middle of the ground policy wins. And so we'll have the Secretary of the VA on in just a moment to talk about it. But our Patriot Mobile devices obviously keep us connected and locked in with this news. I see this as good news. If you want to get news at the speed of breaking, you'll want Patriot Mobile's premium access to all U.S. major networks. You'll enjoy the same or better premium coverage as all major carriers. And it's a Christian conservative wireless provider, so you know that you are funding the good guys. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Benny for a free month of service. Switch today. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT. Make the switch today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, it is our great honor to have back the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Secretary Doug Collins. Mr. Secretary, welcome back to the program. I think that most people have been extremely concerned about the way that veterans and military members are being treated during this shutdown. And I hear that it's about to end, but I want to get your take, Mr. Secretary, on this.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that we're at least making progress, but I'm one of those that's been around the Hill for a long time. I was in Congress. You still got to get through the House. I'm not going to, hold my breath at this point. But it is looking more promising to get this done. But it needs to get done. This was stupid. I mean, when you have members of Congress, who are willingly saying that we're using people of leverage, Democrats saying that leverage over and hurting families is the only leverage we have, then you really probably need to rethink your life's calling in public service. And for veterans, it's been, effective. We've been able to keep our hospitals, our clinics, all that open, getting disability payments out, but like vocational rehab, educational benefits, people being able to have that sort of, one-on-one conversation with the VA has been affected. And then frankly, one of the unfortunate things is we have 1 million+ veterans on SNAP program, and they have been cut off here for the last little bit. So it's time to get this thing solved. Democrats did this, especially when you see the result here, you can just see this was more political and malicious. Frankly, I think aimed more at the president or the policies than anything else.
It does boggle the mind that they've been able to get away with this. They are shutting down the government because they want to provide free health care for criminal aliens. And in doing so, they are hurting our veterans and hurting air traffic controllers that keep the planes in the skies and children from dying when they take flights. And I don't know, Mr. Secretary, how many American veterans do we have living in our nation today? Certainly millions, right?
Yeah, we're right 17 million roughly.
Yep. And so they're doing all of that in favor of criminal aliens and giving them goodies to stay here. Do I have that correct, Mr. Secretary?
Yeah, you have it correct, and not just from me saying it or you saying it. You have it directly from right before the shutdown. They actually published sort of their wish list for what they were going to shut the government down on, and it was in their own writing. It was in their own discussions on what they were wanting to do with the Obamacare issues and other things. And people kept saying, "Well, that's not where it goes to." I have in our file a sheet of paper from the New York Public Health where they actually says this is for if you're over 60 years old and illegally in this country, here's where you can apply to get your Medicare supplement here. I mean, it was coming straight from the government. They were taking about these funds, so they can't deny it. They can take about everything they want to do. And they finally, many of them was broke and said, we want health care for everybody. But this shows a really warped priority sense when, look, and one of the things they don't want to talk about here, and I'm just going to say it, is they're talking about giving money straight to the very insurance companies that they supposedly hate. Now, think about that one for a second. This money doesn't go to individuals. It goes to basically keep the insurance companies from raising rates. So you're giving the insurance company the money to keep them from raising rates. This is what this was all about. And by the way, this compromise that is out there right now, which I agree with you is let's get it done, let's get a good thing, has nothing to say about that.
Really? That's a shame, actually. Kind of sad.
Amazing.
Yeah, Senate Democrats cave, open path to reopening government. You have spent, I think, many terms in Congress. Where do you see this going, Mr. Secretary?
I think they'll eventually get it. It's going to be, you'll see some bumpy here. It should get out of the Senate today. I'm hoping either Republican, which would be, our friend Senator Rand Paul, or who voted against it, or Democrats who stopped the process from going quickly. But we really need, for the sake of America, look, let's get this done. Let's get it over to the House. Let the House have a chance to vote on this. They may have to do it on suspension, or they may have to do it under rule, however. But it's time for this to end. This nightmare needs to be over. And we need to get back to having the policy debates that they have. It also goes back to something you asked me about my time in Congress. I'll say that is my time. It's time we get back to doing what I said when I was in there, and that's start passing appropriations bills and quit punting the ball. This needs to be done by September 30th every year. And if it's a hard vote, yes, it's a hard vote. Find a way around it. Get what we need to get done. Or otherwise, don't run for office. I'm just at a point now to where if you can't make hard decisions and explain them back home, maybe politics is not where you need to be.
Yeah, I think the American people are right there with you. And I think there's going to be some major generational change, either for the good or for the worse. You can see the way that it's going to go. It's either going to go the way of Charlie Kirk or Zoran Mandami.
Yep.
And that's going to be so that's the battle right now. And so they show us who they are constantly. Mr. Secretary, you're the Secretary of Veteran Affairs. Yesterday, President Trump, and I don't know if you were traveling with President Trump yesterday to the military night for the Commanders and Lions game. Were you there, Mr. Secretary?
No, I was coming back. I had got to spend some time with our great veterans out in Texas at College Game Day and doing some stuff out there. So
that's awesome.
But I just didn't get back in time. It was an early game. I couldn't make it back.
So
because of the shutdown and because of flight delays,
That's right. Well, there was no delay here. This is the most epic entrance ever for a president. And, according to all of our sources and all video that we saw, everyone was just jaw on the floor as President Trump was flying over the stadium. But unfortunately, when President Trump stood up here in the box with Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, and then swore in brand new members or re-enlisted brand new members, it was a mix. Here they are. Here are some of their faces. They did a swearing in on the field. Again, this is the commander-in-chief swearing in at the military night. They got booed during this. A lot of people posted this video, and you could certainly hear plenty of jeers and plenty of boos, people flipping off the president as he's swearing in members of the military. So it was a wild scene. What does this say about the state of the country, Mr. Secretary?
What it says about some of those folks there, that they sort of forgot what us guys from North Georgia meant when your mama said, if you don't know how to act, just don't act at all. That's just bad. That's just poor form, sad. I've been in the military for over 25 years. Look, I've got a lot of friends that I disagree with, but at the end of the day, these are people who are doing something probably some of those aren't doing, and that's raising their right hand and saying, I'm willing to stay in the military. I'm willing to go into the military to protect the very freedom for you to act like an idiot right there.
I think you're starting to see this. I mean, we started off the show with this clip, and it's troubling to see, but you're starting to recognize that there's a vision for this country that is a total remaking of the nation. Again, Zoran Mandami running on completely defunding the police in New York. He still stands by that. Letting criminals go free, disrespect of our military, attacking of our ICE agents. They're showing us who they are. The shooting of President Trump in the head, the shooting of Charlie Kirk in the head. They continually show us who they are. And it seems to be a very violent Marxist movement that is there to attack the right and attack law enforcement, and to do so from a militant and terroristic perspective. What is it exactly that we're fighting? Like, how would you describe, right, the battle lines right now culturally for the country?
Yeah, I think the cultural battle lines are in from a perspective of right. What I'll just say is a understanding of the culture of our United States, how we were founded on a culture of basis of moral value and beliefs, and a generation that has been frankly moved away to in many ways, a period of ease that has allowed everybody to say, well, whatever I want to do is right, and nobody should be able to tell me what is right or wrong. It's still amazing to me that the very same people, who condemn what we do in the United States and have differences of what we do, also, have nothing to say about, totalitarian regimes across the world. They have nothing to say about these, the very ones that are oppressing, truly oppressing people. It's sort of hard to see you're oppressed when you're, frankly, you're going through with an $8 Starbucks and a $1,000 phone and, everything seems to be okay. It's sort of hard to say you're oppressed at that point.
We were at the Fox Patriot Awards last week, and we heard a speech from the Secretary of War about record high recruitment and hitting generational goals, frankly, when it comes to recruitment for the armed services. I think part of that also is veterans seeing that they're treated well after service, and that's what you're in charge of. Can you speak to that mission, Mr. Secretary?
Yeah, I would love to, because that is exactly right. Pete and I have actually talked about this many times. I think the Secretary of the Department of War and Veterans Affairs, we're fraternal twins. We just take care of the same people at different times in their life. And, if he brings them in, gives them purpose, gives them, the ability to do what they need to do in the military, and they treat them well when they come to us, we're going to treat them well. That's a recruitment issue. And I think for us to be solid in what we do is a definite recruitment issue as we go forward. So we're going to continue, to do that as we move forward. But I will also say this is something we need in the veteran side. And on Veterans Day, I commend all of my veterans that I've served with, is to stay healthy. And I want them to understand, because one of the things is we have a lot of recruitment going on, but I was just with a Marine recruiter this weekend who is still finding a generation that is not physically fit enough to join the military. We still got a lot to overcome here. And I think but we're moving in the right direction. I'm so proud of President Trump. I'm proud of Pete and the rest that are moving us toward a warfighter mentality. For those of us who served for a long time, are ready to see a focused effort on our warfighting skills. And then we in the VA are going to be very focused on one job and one job only, and that's our veteran. We're not about our bureaucratic mess that we have or anything else. It's about a veteran walking through the door, and that's why we're here.
So I think in conclusion, Mr. Secretary, can you give a parting shot to anybody who may be a fence sitter when it comes to reopening the federal government and allowing for these services to continue? Because obviously you must have been affected, just like everybody.
Yeah, I'm not getting paid.
during this shutdown. Yeah. Can you give a little bit of a nudge over the line to say, let's get back to the business?
Yeah, my nudge over the line is I want you to think about the veteran who just got out the last little bit. They've served this country. They've been all over the world for the last number of years doing exactly what some of them, many in Congress, by the way, the small minority of members of Congress now have served. The vast majority have never served. And yet they're willing to tell these men and women who have been serviced, go all over the world, away from their homes in tragic conditions many times. And yet now you're telling them that they cannot get vocational rehab to start a business. They can't get the money to go to education. They can't get somebody to talk to, because you choose to fight over things like, funding health care for those who shouldn't be here in the first place, or maybe your own. And you say that pain of the families is leverage. It's time to get off and it's time to move forward. The American people can see through this, and even if they can't, they will if you continue this. It needs to stop. We need to get our country back in order.
Maybe you should. That was a really good stump speech. You should go back into I'm sure you still have your key card. I'm sure you still have I'm sure you still have all the skeleton keys. You should go back in there.
I thought you liked me, buddy. Come on.
Just smack them around, Mr. Secretary. I know you can do it.
I love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, with hundreds of thousands of followers, VA Secretary Doug Collins is one of those guys who just is humble and is just plugging along. Not a lot of drama from his office, and that's a good thing, actually. He's the kind of guy that is there, mission-focused and oriented on our veterans, and he just wants to keep serving them. So please serve our secretary by following his account and promoting his message. Godspeed, Mr. Secretary.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have had a fascinating series of guests throughout the show, and I guess we'll see where the news cycle goes today. we want to give you, I guess, a little news and a bright spot at the end of the show here at the BBC. This is like the biggest corporate news entity in virtually all the world, has fired their news chief and director general for editing a Trump January 6th speech in order to try and frame the president. I'm sensing a trend here through the entire show, trying to frame the president, either booing him as he's enlisting, planting fake pipe bombs around D.C. in order to slander the MAGA movement, in order to facilitate January 6th, or just straight up like viciously editing like this. Please play it. A clip to make it look like President Trump was saying something he didn't say that day.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
These bastards. So they edited it. I was there. I was sitting like a few feet from Trump during this, and obviously I've told the story a million times, right next to Alex Jones. Trump was still speaking when Alex Jones got the notification that there was a riot going on at the Capitol, and I could see that you could just see the blood in his eyes. Blood in his eyes. Alex Jones lost his mind, flipped his chair. I will never forget this for the rest of my life. Flipped his chair. He got up so fast, burst through the Secret Service barrier. It's a miracle he didn't get shot, in order to run down to the Capitol building, because Alex Jones saw it clear as day that they were going to run an op. And this is part of the op. You could see here. The BBC Director General resigned Sunday after the British broadcaster was criticized over editing a Trump speech in order to be misleading. Tim Davie served as BBC director since September 2020, announced his resignation. His exit followed a growing controversy surrounding a documentary about President Trump, where they spliced together Trump's words, effectively making it seem like Donald Trump was encouraging people to go fight at the Capitol, when in fact what he said to us that day, and I was freaking there, was we're going to march peacefully and patriotically. This is what President Trump said. Bad news. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to fight peacefully and patriotically, well, first off, you got to make sure that these liars in the media get fired. And then second off, you got to make sure that you have the resources to fight. My investment resources goes like this. Diversification. And some of that diversification is into precious metals. My friends at Advantage Gold are the ones who make sure that we have stayed on the right side of the precious metals surge. Advantage Gold has released their brand new 2025 gold and silver report. It reveals why we may never see a setup like this again, where the Fed is rejiggering rates. And ladies and gentlemen, history shows that that's going to send precious metals even higher. Advantage Gold is offering up to $10,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. That's real silver that you can hold in your hands. Text Benny to 85545 right now for your free 2025 gold and silver report. Details to help secure your position right now. Text Benny to 85545. Once in a lifetime opportunity. Go gold in the golden era. Okay, so let's go ahead and check in on our poly market odds for the government shutdown ending today. Poly market polls, and well, poly market was just freaking right on the polls for the elections on Tuesday, and we'll see if they're right on the government shutdown today. So the government shutdown, when will the shutdown end? Look at this, skyrocketing. November 12th through the 15th. That would be this week, skyrocketing up to 80%. There's always someone who knows, you know? There's always somebody who knows. It's funny watching poly market because, you know, like, are the people who are betting on this the ones who are going to reopen the government? You don't know. You don't know. But this is the greater overall sentiment. And It says that it's going to happen this week. The greater overall sentiment is that it's going to happen this week, a couple days from now, and that the government shutdown is going to end. So that's what the smart money is looking like in the market. How about the Trump dividend? We didn't cover this, but President Trump announced that he will be giving $2,000 to every American based on tariff revenues. Will the tariff dividend actually happen? Boop, like a little bit of a bump there. Donald Trump's been teasing this for a while, and that bump is because President Trump posted about the tariff dividend. Let's put that post up, please, and go ahead and talk through what the president said. Donald Trump. People that are against tariffs are fools. Richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation and no record stock market price. 401ks highest ever. We're taking in trillions of dollars. We'll be paying down enormous debt of $37 trillion. I would prefer them do that, frankly, than they give a dividend, but that's just my take. Record investment in the USA, plants and factories going up all over the place. The dividend of $2,000 per person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone, says Donald Trump. Okay. And the market says that the chance of that happening is around 10% right now, sitting at a 12% chance. Okay. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a wild show. I pray that you march into this day with the confidence that you have in Christ to continue the fight against the communists. We will continue to be focused on that true fight against the godless communist. And part of the way of doing that is making sure you have the full armor of God on, and you can do that with our verse of the day from Deuteronomy 16:20. Follow justice and justice alone, so that you may live and possess the land of the Lord your God is giving you. God has given us this land. We must maintain it. Do that by marching with us on to victory. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
You see, I think everyone has got this wrong. And on January 6th, I was on and ride along with the police, which I do frequently. And sometimes they let me make siren noises out of the window. Anyway, on January 6th, I brought my pipe with me, which I do frequently. Sometimes I smoke the pipe. But this time, they told me to get out and get rid of it. So I put it under the park bench next to my friend Kamala. Next thing I know, people are saying bomb, bomb, bomb. I think there is a lot of confusion here. I'm sure my dad will sort it out.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.